Commissioner Zender.
Here.
Commissioner Hagedorn.
Here.
Commissioner Hamilton.
Here.
Commissioner Howell.
Here.
Chairman Coleman.
Here. Okay, we have Commissioner Mass going to lead us in prayer and Commissioner Nye to lead a pledge of allegiance.
Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we come to you this morning, grateful of your many blessings, Lord, grateful for your protection to us, Lord. We ask, Lord, this morning for wisdom as we discuss things and make decisions, Lord, for the county. We pray for a blessing for all the residents in our county, Lord. We pray for protection for them, Lord. We pray that you'd heal those that are brokenhearted, Lord, and come alongside those that are discouraged and down and out, Lord. And Lord, we ask also for your wisdom this morning. And Lord, we are so grateful too for our veterans, those that are here in this country and abroad that are defending us and protecting us, Lord, that we can have freedoms to come together in an open forum and discuss the issues that are at hand. We ask for your spirit in this place, Lord. We ask for everybody in this building to be protected by you, Lord. Pray for your grace and mercy. Thank you for this day, the beautiful weather that we have. We ask it all in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, thank you everyone for coming out this morning. Do we have any items to add to the agenda before we move it?
I'll move approval of the agenda.
I'd like to add under old or additional items B, the opioid settlement.
Motion and support. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Agenda adopted or approved. Consideration of the draft minutes for the March 9th, 2023 committee of the whole meeting.
Motion to approve.
Support. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, draft minutes approved. Okay, as always, we have a distribution of review of overnight travel requests coming around. If anyone has any questions, please let us know. Brings us to department head updates. Any department heads here would like to comment this morning?
Good morning, Rachel Burton, Lapeer County Animal Control. I have some updates for you guys, only because it's springtime, which means that animal control is busy. So with warmer weather, we do see a lot more people spending time outside. We see more strays. We also see a big boom in our feral cat population, lots of kittens. We also see lots of rain and mud, which means that we're doing more welfare checks. There's also the deeper thing of fleas and ticks. So if your animals are not on preventative, make sure you get started on that very quickly. Right now in the shelter, we do have 3 dogs in foster, 2 of which are being treated for heartworm treatment. They're expected to complete that treatment by June. We have a 3rd dog in foster. It's an older dog that we performed dental with. It was emaciated. As soon as she gets her clean bill of health and she is at an adequate weight to be adopted, she's going to be adopted by her foster. We have 12 dogs available for adoption. All of them are spayed, neutered, vaccinated, microchipped, and heartworm tested. We have 15 cats available right now, and we also have 4 kittens that are in foster and being bottle fed because they're being rejected by mom. This week is National Animal Control Officer Appreciation Week. It's also National Telecommunications Week. So make sure that you tell Central Dispatch thank you and an Animal Control Officer thank you because they work very, very hard for you. Our commercial kennel inspections are scheduled for April 24th to May 5th. So basically, animal control officers will contact those kennel owners. Basically, our guidelines have not changed. Essentially, we're just going there, we're reviewing them, making sure that everything is up to par. Anyone who's boarding or breeding or housing dogs for any of those kind of businesses, they're just making sure that those animals are adequately cared for, they have proper ventilation, they're being cleaned, and it's not turning into a situation. Lastly, yesterday we had our shelter deep clean day. We basically had about 10 volunteers that came. We split them into 3 teams. Dog kennel room, cat kennel room, and then laundry and dishes. And we knocked it out of the park. We took apart Arbory kennel and grading that kennel. We've cleaned all of our floors, our drain system, our vents, our floors, and our ceilings, and doors, and everything. So that this spring going forward, we have less transmission of disease, healthier animals that are being adopted, and also it's just nice to kind of spring clean and declutter the shelter. So those are my updates. Any questions? All right, guys, have a great day.
Thank you, too. Any other department heads like to comment this morning?
I don't know, that's not an update.
Good morning, Commissioners. Dima Joseph, Lapeer County Family Court. Hope you all had, and your families had a lovely Easter this past weekend. I just want to let you know that the Friendly Court office will be closed from noon to 1 on April 26th for a Secretary's Day luncheon. Signage is being put up on both floors of our office, but usually we're open around those hours. Just want to make sure you're aware and the public's aware we will be closed April 26th, noon to 1. And I will have scale 41 annual statistic numbers for you at the next April 27th meeting. At that point, if there's any additional questions, I hope I can answer them. At this point, is there anything I could answer for you all? With that, hope you all have a good meeting. Thank you very much.
Any other department heads like to comment this morning?
Mr. Chairman, gentlemen, good morning. Jeff Zetkowski, your 911 director, simply your 911 director now. Just wanted to introduce your new emergency management coordinator, Sarah Whaley. She comes with a wealth of experience and knowledge and work history. She'll be an extremely valuable asset to us here in the county, and I'm very proud to have her on board. A quick story of how this came to be. As the board knows, I was the emergency manager and the director of 911 at the time. Last year, I was looking for a 911 deputy director. She applied for that position, and I had several extraordinary candidates. She was one of them. And they were so good that Quentin Bishop had told me after we interviewed Sarah that I have a hard decision to make because my internal candidate and Sarah were both extremely good. I said, I know. But then after the interview, when we looked at her background and her training, all the emergency management that she has, I said to Quentin, she'd make a great emergency manager. And then we've been working ever since then to make that happen with Commissioner Zender's help on the personnel committee and everything else. And so I called her back in my office a few days later after the interview, had some coffee, and I told her, I said, Sarah, I'm sorry, I'm not going to hire you as my deputy director because I did end up choosing my internal candidate. But I told her, however, how would you like my job? And I think she said yes. So I'm very proud to have her on board with us here in the county. I think she's going to do amazing and wonderful things. So I'll turn it over to Sarah if she has anything to say or you have any questions for her.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for giving me the opportunity in this position to serve in emergency management. I've grown up in Lapeer County. I've worked in public safety in Lapeer County. I went away, worked at the federal level and with Michigan State Police in emergency management. So I'm happy to bring that experience to serve my own hometown community and look forward to working with all of you.
Great. Thank you. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Great job, Jeff, talking her into doing that.
Okay, any other department heads like to comment? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move to the first public time. Anybody from the public like to come up and comment?
This might be a little bit different. My name is Anita Heron, and I'm representing two community organizations, and just wanted to personally invite all of the county commissioners to the Lapeer Art Association for their 50th anniversary celebration. The Lapeer Art Association established itself in 1973. We are a 501(c)(3). We do share housing with the Center for the Arts, and we are going to be having a reception coming up on April 28th, and we'd like to have as many people in the community come and celebrate with us. I also represent the 4-H. We are going to be having our big spring auction. This is our big fundraiser. For those of you that know the work of 4-H here in Lapeer County, it's a significant organization that helps youth of all types throughout the county. It's not just an organization for rural children. It teaches all kinds of skills for all kinds of children. So afterwards, I'll drop off your invitations for each of you. And thank you very much for my being able to be here with you all.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to comment this morning?
Good morning, Carol Wynn, Marathon Township. Again, condolences, Mr. or Chairman Coleman, for the loss of your mom. This last week, my husband and I went to Green Township to help rally against the Goshen plant that is a Chinese battery plant. The folks over there are really fighting for their community. I ask that you, if there's anything that you can do by contacting any legislators that have any decision-making that they can make in this, but it is Green Township. Goshen is the company, and there's a lot to it that if you start digging, you'll realize why this community is so against it. It is not going to just affect Green Township, it's going to affect the state of Michigan and the whole country, but the state of Michigan and all of our waterways. I don't care what they say, that's not going to happen, it is. Last night there was a Marathon Township meeting. Our chairman of your county commission was there. There was a lot of questions and some discussion by constituents about internet, and I still have the opinion that this, the grants that have been applied for and all of that, I really think that we need to really, really slow down and look at this. My husband and I don't believe in being in debt, and we don't believe in just taking leaps as a county could do and saying, oh, well, hopefully in the future, this or this could happen, but it might not. And I just don't want to put our county in that position. I think there's a lot of good things coming with internet, and I just think we need to just hold off on some things. I don't know if you had seen this, but in Missouri, they're defunding their libraries. That's been put forth because schools and I can't remember who else, schools and libraries are actually suing because of supposed banning of books. And so the state's saying, you're not going to use public money to sue us for us holding some standards. So Missouri is looking at defunding the libraries. And I thought that was very interesting. And also last night at the township meeting, they're working on a solar energy, the planning commission is working on a solar energy zoning ordinance. And so they went to the township board, and the township, they asked them to put a moratorium on solar energy fields they asked for 4 months, and the township board is actually doing a moratorium for 6 months so that they can really look into writing a good ordinance and getting all the information they need from different areas. I think that's really important when you pause and look at all avenues before going into this. And my dear husband made a comment that said, just like, how do we know? We need to work on our definitions in the planning commission and the master plan definitions. What is solar energy? What is a solar panel? Because we don't need wind turbines identifying as solar panels. We don't need that to say, oh, well, we're going to do this, but all of a sudden, oh, this is okay too. As next door to us, where we have a motel that they're identifying as a campground. We need to look at definitions. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public would like to comment this morning?
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Good to see you again. I just actually got my response to my FOIA request this morning. I didn't see it earlier, so I haven't read the whole thing. But they denied my request for the tape of the meeting where myself and 2 other people were removed. And they denied it because it doesn't exist. It gets deleted by somebody, apparently the county commissioners, I don't know. I'll read what the response of the letter is, but it cannot be retrieved. I think Ms. Clark wrote this letter. She's the administrative office manager and FIL coordinator. She said, I also spoke to the previous administrator of the county's YouTube page and was told that the original would have had to be saved. Then another edited version would have had to be created for both to remain. Due to the fact that the current staff, I'm not sure what staff that is, had never edited a video prior to this date. That did not occur, nor are we, this is a jumbled sentence, nor are we unable to confirm or deny if that is correct. Therefore, unfortunately, the original no longer exists. We hope that there will be no need for future edits, but should another rare occasion occur that might warrant such consideration, the Board of Commissioners will establish the appropriate protocol on the handling of any editing by the administrative staff. So as that applies, the administrative staff is the one that edited me and two other people out. So I'd like you to respond to that. Mr. Nizey said there at a township meeting that the county commissioners did not do the editing. So if that's the answer, fine. Down below it says that maybe, I think Mr. Arnold said that maybe you should establish a protocol for if you want to violate somebody's First Amendment, not just do it. In this case, it looked like you were protecting one of our county commissioners while I was speaking, and another county commissioner, interest people in the audience during my 3-minute time. So establish a protocol and do a better job if you could. We depend on you. All of us do. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to comment this morning? Okay, seeing none, that brings us to public hearing. We need to, oh, I'm sorry.
Morning, gentlemen,
Morning.
members of our community. I'm Rhonda Lohr. I'm from Marathon Township. I was, I think, the primary target of the editing process that someone for the commission did. It's not clear why there was a request to have the YouTube version, the full version of the meeting edited. It did exist. It was on YouTube. I know people who saw the unedited version before it was edited, which leads me to believe that it was through the cloud at the very least, that there is a copy. YouTube may not have a copy, but I'm pretty sure there is a copy out there. First of all, I just want to reiterate that the topic of genderqueer was presented to this commission and supported by this commission, and the idea of the book is gender and sexuality, and it's not really appropriate for G audiences. You know, I wouldn't, put it in a Disney kind of category, and yet you brought it up, and somehow I think there was objection to comments I made, which were not out of line with what had already been printed in the county press about the book, and also what everyone witnessed at the 3-hour meeting of the library board, which the speakers were 2-1 against book banning. Anyways, if parents are thinking that their children might watch a county commission meeting, their young children, and be upset about the dialogue, they should know that this has been a topic in this meeting, and they should monitor their children better. Omitting the free speech of members of the community, in particular 3 of us, is not a substitute for negligent parenting. Take care of your kids, know what's possible for the discussion, and remove them or turn it off. But my question is this really being responsible representatives of the community when you politically edit your critics? I also read the rejection, and I want to say that I think it's an admitted violation of the Open Meetings Act, because you're admitting to editing the meeting presented to the public. Anyways, that's all I have to say. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to comment this morning?
Kenneth Kopnick, I'm from Oregon Township. At the last meeting, I talked to Mr. Mast about why stuff had been deleted off YouTube. A couple of ladies were still cleaning up stuff and shutting stuff down, and they piped up and said it was because of 2 specific words. Well, all the people that were edited didn't use those words. The words that were specified were correct terms, both of an act and an implement. Now, I've contacted YouTube, and YouTube is very specific that to be taken off, it has to be enticing, inciting, suggestive to kids, full nudity, threats, terrorism, etc. That means you guys edited the record. Somebody in the process edited. I would like to commend Mr. Knisley. When he was at our township meeting, both our board and people in the audience wanted answers and explanations. And he slid out of there like a snake on a hot rock because he had to get to another meeting. I commend you all. You will go far in politics. And so I don't get edited. You will spread bovine excrement with ease. You will fit in politically.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to comment this morning? Okay, so you know, we're gonna close the first public time. Brings us to a public hearing. We need to open the public hearing in relation to close out for CDBG CARES grant funding. Is there anybody from the public who would like to? Okay. When we do that, we're gonna open the public hearing at 9:20 for the closeout of the CDBG CARES grant funding. Is there anyone from the public who would like to comment on this? Okay, seeing none, we're gonna close that out. And then it brings us to Friends of the Historic Courthouse. We have a presentation by Lynn McCarthy.
Thank you so much. I gotta sit up a little bit, so give me a second, guys.
This comes towards your 3 minutes.
Just kidding. If you do that to me, I'm gonna be just, thank you so much. Just give me heartache right now. It looks like I'm a technical wizard, but I'm not. So let's hope this all works. Come on, girl. Huh? Do I have to push it again? This is your gizmo.
It's warming up.
It's warming up. Okay. Good.
It should be coming on.
I just set my paper somewhere. All right. All of you have a document like this on your desks for all of you. And so there we go. Now I just need my picture. How do I, it was earlier set up and now it's not. Give me heartache. Let's see if I do this. Give me a second. Lenny, you can do. Yeah, give me this. If I can. Is this working? Just 1 second. When I did this earlier. Nothing. Why is that happening? I think if I just turn it on, it pops up there. You just go down to that. Yeah, I think it, there we go, we're there.
Thanks, Paul.
See, sometimes it takes, okay. Sorry about that, guys. I'm not technically savvy, so now you see that. My name is Lynn McCarthy. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And I am the president of Friends of the Lapeer County Historic Courthouse. And I'm here to talk to the Lapeer County Commissioners. My efforts today is a couple parts. One, I want to introduce you to the courthouse. And number two, I want to tell you what we're doing. And number three, I want to ask you for something. So hold on, I'll try to make it simple. And I did pretty slides to make it more palatable. So the first thing is that this is the Lapeer County Historic Courthouse. And I have to tell you how many times people say they've never been inside of it. Or they can't get inside of it, but I'll leave that for later. So they've never been inside of it. They want to be inside of it. It is a beautiful gem within our community. It is a legacy of our community. I mean, it can tell you so many stories of what's happened within the history of Lapeer. And it's been around forever. So in 1839, they started construction. In 1945 to 46, the building was erected. And in 1845 to 46, the building was erected. And in 1853, the county became the owner of the building. Okay, it was purchased then. The Lapeer County Historic Courthouse is one of the 10 oldest courthouses still in use in the United States. And it is the oldest courthouse still in use in the state of Michigan. I want to say one last thing too, is that, you know, It'll come up, I promise, I clicked it, so it should come up. So there. Okay. The courthouse has a lot of landmark issues that have happened, but one of the biggest was that our historic courthouse was the very first time that the Michigan Supreme Court left their chambers to hold court session outside of Lansing. And so we had a big event back then. I don't know if people remember, we closed down the streets and all, but they held court there. That's kind of a big deal as well. So I just wanted to add in a few little points maybe you didn't know. The next one is, the way that this happened is that the old courthouse, the new courthouse was built, the old courthouse was sitting there. There seemed to be this vested interest to restore it. It is a historical building that had a historical designation. So there was a group that was created that was a subcommittee under the county. It was called the Lapeer Historic Courthouse Restoration Committee. And you as a subcommittee, or you as the county commissioners, would elect people or designate people to be on that committee, and gratefully you elected me 25 years ago. Some of the past people have been Joe Stock, who was Buildings and Parks. It's now John Hustle. John Bisco used to be the county controller. Kirk Carter, president of the bank. Judge Laura Barnard, still a legacy member. Mary Ellen Clemens, wife of Judge Clemens. So you can see all Judge Michael Higgins, Bill Rickus, a lot of Jim Jessup, and of course myself. There was a lot of people on here from different facets of the community. How that thing would work, how that committee would work, that organization, it was established in 1988 through 2018. You would put a line item of about, I think, $20,000 a year into it. The Historical Society would give us another $10,000, then we would raise money. And when we say raise money, we raise money $2,000, $4,000 at a time. We're not raising money hand over foot. The way they used to do it during this period was penny wars, cookie sales, progressive dinners at different members' homes, holiday galas, and third grade tours. They really did not raise scads money, but they did. I will tell you, over time, they raised over $1 million, and I want to get, I was at 1.25, but I have to say, I'm not sure that they're not including your $20,000 every year, you know what I mean? So, I don't know. And it was, but during this period of time, something happened. So I just want to give you a little background. During this time, we lost the Historical Society as a tenant. They were our custodians. They were in there every day. They kept it open to the public. They were docents. They would show tours. They displayed stuff there. And they paid apparently. I believe. I don't want to misspeak. But they were tenants inside of it. That was where they lived. They now live down the street. We do not have docents in the courthouse. The courthouse is locked. During that time, we lost the farmers market. I get it. They didn't have a 501c3. There were issues, etc. But rather than coming to someone like me and saying, Lenny, can you get them a 501c3? We want to keep them there. We see legacy. That didn't happen. They're down at the river now. We lost the symphony on the lawn. There was a lot of discussion about having to seed the grass. But that's what the courthouse is for, is to bring people to the community to celebrate our community. We lost the ice cream social. We lost a lot of things that kind of gave the flavor of our community. I mean, we can be this other glossy thing, but still the legacy of our community, the roots, is at this courthouse. So after that, we then went into Friends of the Lapeer County Historic Courthouse. Under my guidance, I was asked to be president. We were put on sabbatical for about a 5-year period by the county commissioners. The courthouse was restored to about 90%, but all courthouses, they tend to grow old when they're historical buildings, and they need preservation, they need maintenance, they need upkeep. So for 5 years, we went down because county commissioners didn't want us, and when we were asked to come back up, we were a 501c3. So we're now the Friends. We are organized exclusively for charitable and educational purposes to restore, preserve, promote, and educate. Slightly different than what we were before, though we still do all the same things. When I did this, there was a lot of discussion with John Bisco, who was our county controller at the time, and with Joe Stock, who was the head of our buildings. We didn't do it maliciously. We did it for structure and legacy and growth. And the reason why that's so important is until you become a 501c3, you're not taken seriously. You can't really do business in the real world. And you're just thought of as a bunch of advocates, maybe a bunch of enthusiasts, or at best a hobby. So what we did is we went through and we became a 501c3 so that we had a tax deductible status. What does that mean? Well, we were told repeatedly for all the years I was on it, that as a subcommittee of the county, since you're nonprofit, or since you're non-taxable, that this was deductible. And no businesses, no commercial businesses could give us money and write it off their taxes. So McLaren or Choice One or Albar Industries, none of those could give us money because they couldn't write it off. So we needed to become tax deductible, A, for corporate sponsorship drives. It's a way for a 501c to raise money for that courthouse. We needed to be able to be nonprofit so that we could go after grants. The amount of grants available for city, state, and local entities, which is what we used to be, is vastly less than for a 501c3 going after that money for a nonprofit. So then we also needed infrastructure growth and legacy. And I'm going to show you some of those things. Like if you were to talk to us 15 years ago, we weren't talking about sponsorship drives. We weren't talking about grant writing. We didn't have an infrastructure that could do that, but we do now. We have people sitting on each committee as a head. I'm hoping to backfill that they have people under them. We have a grant writer. We have someone that takes over each single event. So this provided us that ability. The other thing that changes, so I want you to know, is you used to select who sat on the board. You now, as we're still part of this, we're still the restoration committee, but we have this 501c3. You select members, but the members then elect the board in December. So you can put members on, but you don't elect the actual board of directors. Does that make sense? That's really the only difference, and you're not putting $20,000 in our pot. Okay, so we're still working to the same end. So then the next thing I want to go through, I'm getting to the ask, I swear to God, is this. So here's how we raise money. We do events, and I'll show you some of our events. We do our sponsorship drive. This year to date, we've raised over $10,000. Our grants, we have one grant that we've got so far, and that is for a new historical marker. The state will pay for a certain period, certain amount, and the leftover amount that we had to come up with was $825. We're paying that. We're not asking you, it's your building, but we're paying for it. It's part of the historical. So we do want to give where we can give. We don't have a lot of money, but we do want to give. So just so the historical monument, we've approved it. We have the check ready for $825. We're just waiting for the state to tell us when it's coming. Then we have potential grants. We do have a grant writer here, Jill Lyons, who is the director for the Center of the Arts. She's very accomplished in writing grants, and she agreed to be our grant writer. She has found at this point 3 that we can go after. The first is a grant match on Maine. If we can come up with $25,000, they will give us $25,000, hopefully. We know there's $9,000 sitting in the Lapeer Community Foundation. That money comes out every year, and it can only be spent on restoration of the courthouse. Okay, so there's money that comes, and it's accrued over a couple of years, so it's around $9,000. We're willing to put $5,000 in, gotta find $2,000, and if the county would put in $10,000, this is when the grant comes out. We would have our $25,000. Those numbers are rough, I'm just showing you how we get there, but that's a possible grant that we can go after shortly. The second thing is the DAR, the Daughters of the American Republic. They have a $10,000 grant. It's not open yet, but we're going to apply for it. And then the 4 County Community Foundation. You're going to see some documents from some grants later in this that they've done. That's another one. So we now, this slide excites me, and it is because we never could do this before. But now we have the infrastructure, being a 501c3, and the staff to be able to do this to help the courthouse. These are some of the events that we do, and I'm going to start it out. So we're keeping it small. We're only doing 4 events this year. You can see that we usually do them in conjunction with other organizations, so there's a synergy. Witness for the Prosecution was a 4-night series play. We have Law Day, which is the tour of the 5th grade students through the courthouse. And they come in by bus, and we do tours of both the old and the new. We give them historical background. This year, we're giving them just distributables, like a flyer that tells them how laws are made and what are the funniest laws still on the books in each state. We have Symphony by Candlelight. We kind of coordinated that last night. That's October 26th. We have our annual holiday gala. Again, we've cut back this year because we want to make sure that the quality of events we're bringing out. And you can see that many times we're in conjunction with the Lapeer community players, with the Symphony, with DDA. And we try to work with the other organizations to get that synergy. The next one that I have here is, why is the courthouse important? I have to tell you, I asked this question because I did so many phone calls. Why is it in disrepair? Why does it look the way it does? Why is it all tattered? Why is it always locked? I had a gentleman from the Roden family, Todd Roden, he's an attorney in Chicago, called me. He is a member now. He calls in from Chicago when he can. He does try to solicit donations, things like that. He said, I drove in and I was so excited to go there because it's kind of something we did with our family. It was locked. It was torn up. It was beat up. I didn't understand. What can I do to help? I went to Clinton Bishop when he was in because he had been there 2 years and never stepped in the courthouse. So I decided to go and talk to him. I said, where do you see this 4, 5, 10, 20 years now? Do you see it as a parking lot or do you see it as an historical building? Do you visualize it as a cash cow on the county portfolio or do you visualize it as a gem in the county? And he was a little taken back. His expectations were we should have it carpeted. His expectations are we should have brought in a album. And when I explained to him the feasibility of that is $50,000 speaker fee and a maximum of 100 seats, plus providing lunch when we don't have seating arrangements. Some of his ideas were a little off of what he thought that courthouse should be doing. So we got to kind of reel that in. But again, you guys control the entity, what happens to that? And if you keep it locked up and you keep it closed and you keep it in disrepair, it ceases to be a functional building for the county and it's not something that you really want to represent the county. So I want to say that even though sometimes we take it for granted, other people in the world, in the United States don't. So last month, or perhaps the end of February, Martha Stewart, yes indeed Martha Stewart, she published that it's one of the 16 prettiest historic courthouses in the United States to get married at. So we do have national recognition for our little gentleman. The next thing I want to go through then is, this is the part, oops, that's not what I wanted. I don't think I can, okay. You're gonna get stuck with that and I apologize. First of all, restoration and preservation. It shouldn't have happened, but it did, so I'm gonna leave it there. Restoration is bringing it back to its glory, but preservation is basically maintenance, okay? And you have to maintain it. It's an old building. It has old materials, so it's going to age very quickly. So this, I'll go back to the picture later, but I'm just gonna skip one. Some things just happen. They're restoration. So, okay, give me a second. I'm gonna do one thing here. I'm gonna just, let me just do this. Give me a moment. I'm gonna go right here. I'll take this. I'm going to delete it. I'm going to do this. Look at how quickly I was able to fix that. Okay. So some things should start coming up. You got that. I can get that done. You have missing hardware. That's restoration. Okay. However, the next thing, this is wear and tear. You got chipped paint. There could be a paint crew. We could do it on a weekend. You could have some boards that are coming loose outside. That's maintenance. That's just normal wear and tear. But then we go through and we see what people see when they come. And I want you to notice it peels. It has to be painted constantly. It rots. And I think, some people say, well, why don't you just do a presentation and you just give them the hard copies? But I think a picture says 1,000 words. I think the pictures show us what is happening to the courthouse. You see the windows from the outside, but they don't look any better from the inside. They've lost their grout. They're peeling on the inside. I did talk to the historical architect on this site. I said, if we were to get a paint crew, that we all came in to paint the interior, can we scrape this and make it look better? And she said, we didn't scrape it. When we scraped the outside, got rid of lead. But you can't scrape the inside because we didn't do lead removal because it was too costly. So now we can't scrape all that. We don't keep painting over this stuff. So, those are all some of the issues that come up, but it does, this may, there it is. This happens to be the foyer in the back. This gets a lot of sun, it gets a lot of damage. I think we need to put some kind of, to resolve this issue, first of all, it's gonna get worn. It's something that was added on after the fact, but we need to put some kind of sun screen on those windows, that it doesn't allow the sun to beat in as heavily. I know that changes the visual, we need to think about that. It's on the interior, not the exterior of the windows. I need to talk to the architect about that, but that would reduce the amount of wear in that back area. And then this last one is, I would think, critical. What's happening is, on the main floor, when you walk in, if you come through the front door and you look on the left, the floor is rotting out of the wood. There is not damage coming from the ceiling. There is not damage coming from the wall. The best that I can think of, and I'm not an engineer, is that we have a boiler. And if there is some type of pipe putting off heat, the condensation is causing rot. It's in a straight line down the side. However, the first picture I have with the line, and I apologize that happened, that shows that this is getting further out. And on April 1st, after we had had a lot of water, it appeared that this demarcation on the floor was even more extensive. So we're sitting at a situation that we say, what do we do? How do we fix this? What's the first step? So the first step was I contacted H2A Architects. H2A Architects is a historical architect of record. Why would we go to them? Well, the county's not great at keeping records. So there's no record that we didn't scrape for lead paint. The historical architect knows we didn't scrape for lead paint. There's no record that says that. We'd be hard pressed to find the record other than the old paint cans that tells what is the exact paint that we put on walls. So when we go to repaint to the historical paint color, what is that color? I got an old paint can that I can do a paint swatch off of. So going to the historical architect gives us a wealth of knowledge to build our action plan on. They gave a project scope. In your thing, you will see this. And this is something I created. I drew up the courthouse on both floors. I walked through every room, and I created a punch list of what I visually could see. This was what Quentin asked me to do, so that he could start setting the wheels in motion to do something. But nothing ever, unfortunately, came from this. This was where someone would have to decipher this and then start going out to contractors. It's a lot of work. It's a big lift, and I can see why it kind of sat on the back burner. But by going to THA, and in the right-hand side of your packet, in the green packet, you see the actual proposal, and you see some samples of what they're suggesting to do. They basically are going to start with what I created, that punch list. They're going to walk the building, they're going to test it. So they're going to look underneath, and they're going to find out why that leakage, that rot is happening on that wood floor. They're going to give a scope of services. And there are two scopes of services they can give. They can first do a detailed assessment that goes through every single detail, tells us what is an estimated cost to repair it, what the repair will require, what type of artisans or repair workmen we will need. Or they can do an overview assessment, and we do all that work. It's very enticing to look at $4,750. I love County Commissioner Mast. He is on my board, and he is always the first person to say, why not the $4,750? Why can't we use Christmas lights instead of LED candles? They're way cheaper. Why? He's always looking for that. And then I have to, talk it through with him. So he's always coming from a different side so we can think about stuff. The last thing I want to do, and I want to show you what the assessment would be and why we think we need a detailed assessment. There is also an ongoing 3 to 5 year assessment. We did not get a number for that, but she said it was going to be thousands of dollars, maybe $3,000, $4,000 every so many years. I'm waiting for that, and depending if it comes to $5,000 or less, I want to let you know that we, the Friends, depending on that, if it's $5,000 or less, 3 years to 5 years, we'll pay that every year, every time it comes up. We're not asking the county to pay for that assessment. Why? Is because what they do for us gives us a working tool that we use towards our fundraising. So I want you to see, and let me just see if I had any other notes on this, which I think I was pretty clear, okay? So it's $15,000 for this, and this is what it gives us. It actually, this was from the 4 county, this was a building, and I'm sorry it's darker, but the first block says that's gonna run $35,000 to $55,000. You're gonna need a preservation contractor, you're gonna need a skilled volunteer, and you're gonna need a trained volunteer. So it tells you what type of people that you need for each thing that it happens, and you have that within your package. Why is this important for us to go with the detail? When I go for a grant, and Jill can attest to this, when we go for grants, we have to have a number. We can't just say, hey, we want to paint, or we want to fix a floor. We need to have a hard number that they're approving a grant for. And so the general $4,750, it doesn't give us that. We're still nowhere where we can raise money. Also, when I have something like this, I can publish it to the public. Why is that important? Well, Coulter Painting has painted that courthouse for free at least twice, if not 3 times, in 50 years. Okay, it's kind of a legacy for them to do that. So if I say, hey, we need to get it painted, there's a possibility Coulter will step up and say, okay, as long as we can use it in our advertising, we'll paint for free. Got talking a little bit about latex paint. That's a different discussion. We'll talk about that versus linseed. But the flip side is, I can also maybe get a flooring company or a window company or someone who has, I had a gentleman who heard me speaking, and he said, you know what? When this opera house closed over in Almont or whatever, I bought all the historical glass. Can I give that to you to use for the historical glass replacement in the windows? So I start by having a set group of action steps with pricing. I can start going out to the public to try to get services donated, monies donated, but specifically, I then have what I need to go for a grant. So that I'm taking some of the onus of that money that the county would have to spend, and I'm helping you to get the money. I mean, I'm trying to help. So this is where we're sitting. My ask for you is for you to approve a detailed overview from THA, architect, H2A. THA used to be, they moved to H2A. The guy who was our architect was Ron Campbell. He's now the head of all historical preservation for Oakland County. When he left, they resorted and it became H2A, same firm. So I'm asking for the $15,000. The contract, I don't own the building. So the contract between H2A would have to be with the county. I am saying that I would pay for that ongoing assessment that happens every 3 to 5 years, not me, and when I say me, I mean friends. And we would put money towards the match on the 25 match on Maine. Or, you know, we would put money towards grants where we have to do matches. So that's my question to you. And I really want to thank you for your time and attention. I'll answer any questions anyone would have, and I'm sorry I took so long.
Thank you, that was very thorough, very informative. Any commissioners have any comments or questions?
Yes, I have several.
Yay, I love it. Shoot them at me.
First off, I've been in the courthouse 3 times.
I'm so happy.
So you're asking for 10,000 and 15,000, correct?
Right now, I'm only taking one step at a time. First, I'm asking for 15, and that's to get this process done by H2A. That's a separate. Now, when grants come up, it's not my building. So I don't own the building, I just raise money. And we don't have staff. I will tell you, when the tower happened, like within the last 5 years, our committee, the restoration committee, we put $140,000. We paid for the tower. You might have had some more. We put $140,000 in our budget. What we had, we cleared it out, and we paid towards the tower. So it isn't like we don't give money when we have it. But right now, my coffers are at around $39,000. That's after doing a whole, and that's totally us. You're not putting any money. It's not that you're putting $20,000 in every year. That's something you do on your county books now. This is pure us raising money through sponsorship. My sponsorship last year raised $7,200. My sponsorship this year raised $10,000. I mean, we're growing. It's 2 years that we've done sponsorship in the 3 years we've been in existence. We don't have scarce of money. We also have to pay for all the events, all the musicians, the candles, the this, the caterers, whatever we do. We pay for that, and then we might put out $2,500, to make 3,000. So it's a very small process that we have. It's not like we have deep pockets. So we are asking
So
for
you have a
15.
$39,000 balance? Is that what you said?
Right as the end of March. I have to pay my insurances, but again, I think you're looking at 39, why don't you just pay it yourself? It's not my building. And I am a standalone 501c3. I'm not trying to be argumentative, but when you guys cleaned my clock with 140,000 taken out, we became a 501c3. Okay, that, we're willing to work with you, but we have to raise, because there's gonna be a lot of work that has to be done, and we have to pay for that.
So you know, yes, we could hire this firm for 15,000. We cannot give you 10,000. You're a 501c3. If the county starts giving to
You're not
them-
giving it to me. You're going to write the contract, and I'm gonna give you, so you're gonna write the contract for, I'm asking for 15,000. I'm asking you to approve the contract with H2A. Here's what happened. Clinton said, oh, this is great. Where's the bids? I'm like, Clinton, I don't work for the county. I can get an architect to give me a quote.
When you start talking about the grant money, the
Right.
10,000, okay, is it the county's grant or is it the Friends of grant?
We as the Friends will go after the grant, am I right?
Yeah, it would be under our 501c3, the Friends would go after the grant money. But it can, the matching 25,000 can also be in-kind money. It doesn't mean that it has to be a one-to-one cash match.
But you see where I'm going with this? The county starts giving to 501c3s. That's a bad path to start going down. Okay, because
It wouldn't be necessary.
everybody, and there's a lot of great 501c3s out there, okay? I'm not saying that there isn't,
I did it.
but you start going down that path, then that's bad business.
I'd like Jill to be able to explain. Since she's the expert on this, I'm not, I'm just the talking head.
So the in-kind you would not be giving any money to the Friends of the courthouse. But the in-kind could be that we want this new boiler, whatever. And so the Friends of the courthouse writes the grant for 25,000, saying in matching funds, the county is buying this part of this project. The county is providing this part of the project. The Friends is providing this part of the project.
$9,000 at the Lapeer
It's
community is
never
being
coming to us.
applied to that. So you're not ever giving, we applied because we're the 501c3. And let me just tell you, when I do a 25 match on Maine, I can't just do it because I want money. It's not just,
No,
you know,
I understand.
it's not just coming like
how
suddenly
grants
we have
work.
$50,000. We have to have a designated earmarked project that
I
50,000 is
understand how grants work.
So then what would happen is you're probably going to be, if we're trying to come up with 25,000 match on Maine, your $10,000 that we would ask for at that time, and we would have a significant project that would be, let's say that floor. That floor's rotting out. It's critical. We're probably gonna have to get it fixed. If we can get this all done and we were to get that $50,000 would go to the floor. So you get $25,000 you weren't expecting, $9,000 that's sitting over there. We're putting in whatever money. So your cost on a $50,000 floor repair would be $10,000. You'd pay it to whoever's doing the floor repair. We're finding ways to put money to pay for the project. So I get where there's a valid concern that you're not gonna give us money. But like on the $15,000 for the H2A, you're not giving it to us.
No, I
You're giving it to
understand.
them. And in that, you'd be giving it perhaps, in my example, to the floor repair guy.
Like I say, I just want to be very clear that we cannot do, the 10,000 to 15,000 or whatever it is, to a 501c3.
Right.
We can put money into our building, okay,
Yes.
because it's a county-owned building. We can pay for this study if we want. Personally, I don't think it belongs here. I think it belongs in front of properties, but that's up to you guys.
Commissioner Howell?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
First, I want to thank Ms. McCarthy. We sit here month after month and have a lot of well-paid government employees come here and ask us for a lot of government tax money. Lynn is a volunteer citizen. She's doing the kind of thing that we ought to reward in this county, where citizens come forth from the private sector, give up their time. In this case, they're trying to help us preserve a building which we own and we have responsibility for. Not to mix apples and oranges, the only thing being requested this morning is the $15,000, which would be a direct payment by us to the contractor. Friends wouldn't be involved. We would sign a contract with 15,000 architectural services would be done. I think we ought to reward these folks. They spend an ungodly amount of time working on this and have done yeoman's effort for the people of Lapeer County. And I would move that we grant the $15,000 request for the architectural services.
Commissioner Hanford?
I will support that, and I'd like to explain my support in that, and I think Truman can add to this a little bit as well in our short 3.5 months being on this committee. Yesterday, we actually had a committee meeting, and in the process of our meeting, a young mother and her child came into the courthouse. Both of their faces lit up like a Christmas tree. I don't know if this lady's lived here her entire life or if she just moved here, but she walked in and said, wow, this is my first time being in here.
She said it's always locked. I saw the door open and I couldn't help myself.
Correct.
I had to bring my kid in.
Like Mr. Commissioner Zender said, it is our building. I do think this is a small fee put towards finding out what exactly is wrong. I see John sitting there in the back. I know he's gone and looked at the women's bathroom there. The ceiling's caving in. I mean, that's embarrassing.
I did not bring up the ceiling in the basement because that is not a historical part of the building. It was an add-on after the fact that we put in the bathroom downstairs. So it's really a county issue, but what happened, just so you know, it was excavated underneath the front porch, and then they did some type of waterproofing. But the architect said, well, we did this, but we also put a disclaimer that said that every so many years you had to go back and re-waterproof. So it's like excavated underneath the front porch, and then they put in this structure, and that moisture is coming through the ceiling.
So that is my reasoning for supporting it.
Okay, we have motion to support. Anyone any other comments or discussion?
We ought to support it too, and if there's any semblance of thoroughy, Winnie's very thorough with what she does, and thank you for doing all that you do, because I know you've been involved in this for a long time. I support
Any more discussion?
I just want to say thank you.
You have to deal with, you two, I have to tell you that we are so grateful to have 2 county commissioners actually sit on our board. They give us direction, they give us feedback, they shake their heads sometimes and go, that will never fly, or, oh, this is an issue, like the basement. I mean, as soon as I brought it up in a meeting, Brad went over to John Bustle and said, there's a concern that we have, let's go look at it. And I have to say, John was like right over there, a nanosecond, like, oh my gosh, yeah, I didn't realize, let's take care of this. So it's really helping her.
Call the question, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Howell?
Say call the question.
Okay. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Just as a follow-up, I will reach out to H2A. I will ask them to put up a contract, to write up the $15,000 contract. I'll do that probably tomorrow. And I will ask them to make that to the county, Lapeer County. And I will work with John Bustle just to make sure that I know what everything has to be done, Jillian and John Bustle. And I really thank you guys. You'll see me again when I get the grants.
Thank you again. Great presentation. Okay, the next item on our agenda here is the E911 request to adopt a resolution for recognition of National Telecommunications Week, April 9th to the 15th. I'm going to go ahead and read this from here so it's in the microphone. It's resolution number 2023-R003. Whereas Lapeer County Central Dispatch has been designated as the public safety answering point for all public safety response in Lapeer County for those emergencies that require police, fire, or emergency medical services. And whereas the telecommunications of Lapeer County Central Dispatch answer those calls for assistance and serve as the first and most critical contact our citizens have with emergency services. And whereas the safety of public officers, firefighters, and emergency medical service providers that serve our citizens are dependent on the quality and accuracy of information obtained from citizens who contact Lapeer County Central Dispatch. And whereas Lapeer County Central Dispatch Public Safety Telecommunications provide the single most vital link for our police officers, firefighters, and emergency medical service providers by monitoring their activities by radio, providing them with information and ensuring their safety. And whereas the public safety telecommunicators of Lapeer County Central Dispatch have assisted in the saving of many lives, the apprehension of criminals, and prevention of considerable property loss each year. And whereas each member of Lapeer County Central Dispatch has exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during the performance as a public safety telecommunicator. And whereas on October 9th, 1991, the Congress of the United States proclaimed the second week in April as National Public Safety Telecommunications Week. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners hereby proclaims the week of April 9th through the 15th, 2023 as Public Safety Telecommunicators Week in Lapeer County in recognition of the men and women whose dedication and professionalism help keep our county and citizens safe. Be it further resolved that the Board of Commissioners urges county residents and public safety responders to join in honoring the staff of Lapeer County Central Dispatch in recognition for their continued professionalism and dedication to the public safety of Lapeer County. That was a lot.
You did well.
Do we have a
I'll make a motion to support the resolution.
motion and support? Any discussion? Will clerk please?
Who is the second?
Oh,
Was that you, Truman?
Yep.
Say
I thought I heard support. So we have motion and support. Any discussion on this? Okay, will the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Hamilton,
Yes.
Commissioner Mast,
Yes.
Commissioner Zender,
Yes.
Commissioner Hagedorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Howell,
Yes.
Commissioner Nicely,
Yes.
Chairman Coleman.
Yes. Jeff, do you want to have anything to say? Do you want to come down and get a picture?
Thank you very much for the resolution. We do this every year. Rachel just asked me if I wrote that. No, I didn't. It is a lot, it's a mouthful, and I know I remember Commissioner Snyder read it off one year, so I was very appreciative. And so just thank you and the board and the public for the support of our dispatch center and all the good work that they do over there. And I appreciate you guys giving us the tools we need to do the job that we do over there. And one other last thing, congratulations, animal control for the animal control officers week. Also this week, you said I mentioned,
Yeah.
so good job there too. That's all. Great, thank you.
Okay, that brings us to our next agenda item, which would be the prosecutor's office update regarding vacant APA positions and millage implementation.
Good morning, Board.
Morning.
Commissioners. Paul Walton, Chief Assistant Prosecutor from the Lapeer County Prosecutor's Office. Mr. Miller apologized that he couldn't be here today. He had other scheduled events. He's asked me to stand in his stead. As far as an update, there was a request for action to approve the adjustment in the salary schedules. And this is based primarily on the fact that the last time we appeared before the board, the question was posed that why don't we wait out 60 days to see what kind of reaction that we've got from the last readjusted pay scale. And I can report to the board that we have had 3 applicants. One who is not licensed in the state of Michigan, one who has not graduated law school yet, and one who has never set foot in a courtroom. So at this point, you probably, and I apologize, I probably disrupted a little bit of your meeting today, but we are spread very, very thin today. We have 2 jury trials going on, and we have a full court docket going on. I'm the on-call prosecutor. I got up this morning at 3 o'clock to address a series of search warrants. I got into the office by 5 o'clock to write a series of assaulted crimes so we could get them out to the police departments ASAP. So what we are suffering at the prosecutor's office, quite honestly, is an increase in crime, an increase of action by the court, and and we do not have sufficient staffing. And the problem is that we are competitive with a number of other counties. I know the board, I know that there has been arguments that we are not Oakland County. It is clear that we are not Oakland County, and we don't intend to be Oakland County. However, this is the candidate pool that we're pulling from. We are pulling from Macomb County, Ingham County, Lapeer County, Livingston County, Wayne County, Monroe County. This is where the law schools are located, and this is where the graduates will concentrate. Unfortunately, we are not staffed sufficiently where we can bring in a law school grad and spend 3 years training them before we let them loose in a courtroom. It's not fair to the victims, nor is it fair to the citizens, nor arguably the defendants as well. So what we want to do is that we want to ensure that we are giving the most effective prosecution possible. And we think one way of achieving this is giving us a competitive playing field by which we can draw in recruits. I want to give a brief description of some of the responsibilities of an assistant prosecutor. You just saw a presentation by the Historic Society where they felt that it was compelling to give a PowerPoint presentation that outlined their position, their acts, their asks, and the reason why. That is done in every jury trial in Lapeer County. When we make a presentation to a jury, we will present them information in the form of closing, direct evidence, in the form of a PowerPoint, so the jury can understand the facts, the laws, and the issues that are being presented to them. And I can guarantee you, if I were to sit down with the Historic Society, they would say that they presented that, they prepared that for days on days on days. We have hours to do it. By way of example, last night I had an assistant prosecutor who was in court who had a motion that came up. I was pulled out of a series of hearings to help her assist in drafting a motion that we had to have done by 5 o'clock. That required both her and I staying till about 9, 10 o'clock last night to finish the other work that had to be done. And the reality is we just don't have the staffing. But the work doesn't end, but we need your help. We need your authority to spend the money that has already been approved by the voters in the form of the millage. I will gladly answer any questions that you may have.
Commissioners, any questions?
I have one question, I guess.
Commissioner Howell?
You'd indicated you had 3 applicants, neither of which met your standards.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any sense, if we make this adjustment, have you had any communication or any reason to think that that's going to result in more applicants?
Yes, I do. Quite honestly, I think I can steal from Oakland County. I've had a number of assistant prosecutors in Oakland County that expressed their level of frustration with the current administration, and they want to be prosecutors, not defense attorneys. And I think that's kind of, you have a realistic ideology out there among professional prosecutors that they are not necessarily buying into this idea of, I'm going to paraphrase, wokeness, that they actually want to advocate for victims, they want to advocate for the community, they want to hold those that have committed crimes responsible.
Any other questions?
No, just one of my things about this request for the increase in your budget was giving you guys more time to try and recruit. Sounds like you've done that. You've fulfilled my request on that as far as I'm concerned, and I'm prepared to move forward on this.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Howell?
I would move that we grant the requested pay increases for the chief assistant prosecutor and each of the assistant prosecutors. I'm making that motion so we can have a separate vote on the elected officials' pay.
Support. So motion and support on that. Any discussion?
I'm in favor. I make no secret that I think the assistant prosecutors deserve more. I serve on the Max Judicial and Public Safety, and one of the issues that was brought up that's going to directly affect your office is the second look law. Are you familiar with that at all?
Yeah.
And that's, bringing you guys in on weekends, and so I'm in favor of
Well,
adopting.
there's more legislation that's pending right now. There is pending legislation right now that if a trial is not commenced with 18 months, it is dismissed with prejudice, regardless of court congestion. So there are some pieces of legislation out there that are problematic. If I may address one issue, just so you understand the national standard for prosecutors nationally, the elected prosecutors, the national standard recommends that the pay be commensurate with the chief judge of the county in which they serve. In this county, that is $168,000. And I want you to know that every judge in the state of Michigan makes the same pay. Every circuit court judge, the judges in Oakland County, judges in Lapeer County, judges in Port Huron, all make the same pay. They make $168, which is a percentage of the Supreme Court pay. The district court judge makes a little less, but it is still more currently than the elected prosecutor. So we're even not on par with the national recommendations for pay of even the prosecutor for the county.
Any further discussion?
Could you repeat the motion again?
Yes, my motion is to grant the requested pay increase levels for the chief assistant prosecutor and each of the assistant prosecuting attorneys. My intent in doing that is that you have a separate vote on the elected official. But I'm certainly convinced that we've got to do more to recruit more assistant prosecutors and get them in here. We passed this millage. We want criminals acted upon, arrested, captured, tried properly, and appropriately convicted. And we need the staff to do that. So I'm very supportive of that.
Any further discussion?
Can you expand on that 18-month thing where the case automatically gets dismissed?
Certainly. It is pending legislation right now. I think it initiated in the House. And it is part of the.
Could you speak in the mic? I can't hear you.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It is currently pending legislation. I think it began in the House. And it is part of the restorative justice. It comes under the acronym or the moniker, I should say, of restorative justice. And one of the acts that is being proposed currently is that if a case isn't adjudicated, that is taken to trial within 18 months, that it is presumed to be prejudicial against the defendant and it shall be dismissed. There are exceptions for good cause, but one of the exceptions that does not exist is court congestion. And that is the number one issue that we face, quite honestly, with adjudication of cases, is this court congestion. So what that says is if the case does not get tried within 18 months, it is dismissed and the prosecution is barred from moving forward. So if you're a victim, I don't care if it's if it's an assaultive crime in district court, too bad. If you are a victim's family member because someone has been murdered, too bad. And the reality is that cases are much more complex than they were. When I started in prosecution and I would get a murder file, it would contain 2 pages. A shot B, B died, A's charged. And you would oftentimes go through a prosecution based on simply that. Currently, a prosecution for even an assault and battery requires extensive amounts of work because we have in-car videos, we've got dispatch tapes, we've got body cams, and oftentimes it's even much more complicated by we're awaiting results for DNA testing or substance testing. So what we have done is we have made prosecution much more complex and sometimes not more efficient. And the reality is if I send a request out to the Michigan State Police for DNA testing, they are as far as 2 years behind in DNA testing. So you can see the automatic issue that it's going to potentially create for prosecution. And you've got legislators right now that are making proposals on things like this with no understanding of how the criminal justice system works. There are very few lawyers currently in either the House or the Senate. And those that have been lawyers in the House or the Senate are not practitioners. They have never walked a jury box. They have never stood before a court. They have never argued in our Court of Appeals nor our Supreme Court. But yet they decide that they are going to dictate to your victims, our victims in this county, what justice looks like.
Unbelievable. So
one of the other things that you had mentioned is Prosecutor Miller had said getting through the judicial system, one of the problems was the judges not being able to see enough cases. He talked about bringing in like out-of-town judges.
Visiting judges is what it's referred to, yes.
Okay. So I mean, you can have all the prosecution staff in the world that you want. If the judges can't handle it, it's not gonna do any good either, right?
No, I would say that if we had more staff and we had more judges, we're going to get more cases tried. I mean, it's just simple math. We don't necessarily have, well, we do have a backlog. There's no question about that, and that's COVID. Currently, that proposed legislation is not enacted in law, and there are a number of Court of Appeals cases, and I think there is a case pending before the Michigan Supreme Court right now addressing the issue of backlog based on COVID restrictions. So that hasn't been necessarily a bar, but if we have a visiting judge, yes, that is going to give us the opportunity to get more cases before a jury.
Right, but that's not up to you guys to get the visiting judge.
It would be up to the judicial staff, yes. It would be up to the court. I will tell you that when I started in prosecution, I was a part of a spin-off docket in Oakland County, which means that we had quite a backlog of 500 pending felonies. So what the circuit court did is they hired a visiting judge, and when a case got trial ready, it was spun off to that judge, and I stood in front of the court on a daily basis, didn't know what was going to walk in next, with a whole lot of notice, and simply tried the case. And we got rid of our backlog in 6 months, because there is nothing more motivating to a defendant than an open courtroom and a judge that is ready to try a case. Oftentimes an open courtroom, quite honestly, is the best incentive, because now they will seriously consider any potential offers and a potential exposure. So it serves two reasons. One is it'll get us before the court, and it'll also open court up to allow other cases to flow in.
Any further discussion? Okay, so we have a motion and support to adopt the proposed attorney's pay scales except for the prosecuting attorney's wages. Am I correct?
Yep, we have that.
Okay. Do we need to do a roll call vote for amending the budget?
Completely up to you.
Anybody want to make that motion, or?
Make the motion to do a roll call vote.
Okay. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Howell,
Yes.
Commissioner Zender,
No.
Commissioner Hagedon,
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton,
Yes.
Commissioner Nicely,
Yes.
Commissioner Mast,
Yes.
Chairman Coleman.
Yes. Okay, motion passes.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Okay, that brings us to item number 5, District Court's request to approve the renewal agreement with Edemia Identity and Security for a 1-year maintenance on the live scan fingerprint machine.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's actually for communities corrections. I wear many, many hats. Nothing has changed on it. Mr. Melliher's looked over the contract and has approved it. Said everything was good to go. So we're just renewing the contract. LiveScan didn't get us the contract. They got it to us a little late, so it actually, the agreement, it's a little backdated from March 1st. But this allows us to continue with all the fingerprints that we need to do.
I'll make the motion.
Support, Hagedon.
Motion Zender, support Hagedon. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that brings us to item number 6, Sheriff's Department's request to approve the purchase to new hire and replace expired bulletproof and spike vests. So the sheriff is not here.
I just have a question on this. The way it's worded, the new hire, is he referring to because he has new hired people that he needs vests for? Is that what he's trying to?
Good question. Any commissioners have the answer for that?
The background information on this says new vests are replacements for expired vests or new hires.
I wonder if it's supposed to say 4 new hires.
I would think
Probably.
there's some sort of typo in there or,
So we're not purchasing a new hire. Make that clear in the motion.
It's nice to see Dial Hennings rubbed off on you, Commissioner Zimmer.
thank you. I'm sure Dial is listening and I'm sure he's very grateful that I picked that up.
I would move to approve it, assuming we say 4 new hires, with the request that the sheriff have somebody here at the next meeting to explain this before we take a final vote.
Okay.
I'll support that.
Fair?
I'll support that, hanging on.
The wording in the motion that is drafted doesn't address new or any otherwise replacements at all. So your draft motion that,
Motion were in our agenda. Seems to be appropriate, except it should say 4 new hires instead of 2 new hires.
Right, she's saying down here though, the draft motion down
Oh, I
here.
see.
On the
does
request
not-
for
yeah.
action.
the draft motion on your request for action is
more
usually the
accurate.
guide of what I use. I'm gonna tweak it because sometimes they don't speak good English either.
Almost as bad as commissioners.
And myself, I'm good.
The finance department pointed out the account number is incorrect. Instead of 101, both of those should be 207 due to those new account numbers that were all established.
So, are you wanting to add the words to that draft motion regarding the new hire or replacements? Or do you wanna take
The
it?
draft motion doesn't say new hires at all.
No.
No, it's just under background information, which I guess,
Then I would just use that wording with the request the sheriff have a representative here next meeting to give us the background.
Okay, support.
Support that.
Okay, motion support. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
I,
All those opposed? Motion carried. Okay, we have registered deeds office request to purchase a Scan Pro 2500 scanner, microfilm scanner to replace an outdated equipment at a cost of $7,400 to be paid from the automated fund.
I would move that motion.
support, hanging on.
Any discussion? Would you like to comment?
I'm Megan, I'm the chief deputy. Lori sends her apologies for not being available. Just here to answer any questions for the proposal.
You win the award for the shortest presentation.
Appreciate it.
Okay, we have motion support. Any more discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
We'll tell Lori you did a great job. okay?
Oh, appreciate it.
Okay, next up is County Surveyor Henry Horton's request to approve annual remonumentation agreements.
Say that.
Did I say that right?
See that? Yes, you
Okay,
did.
good.
Yes, you did. I'm gonna set out something here, so appreciate it. Good morning. Oh, try not to make a mess. Just a visual. Can you all see that? All right, very good. Well, good morning.
Morning.
Commissioners, thank you for having me. I just introduced myself. My name is Henry Horton. I'm a licensed surveyor in Michigan and Indiana, and I'm the elected county surveyor. My term ends December 24. I've been a resident of Lapeer for the last 22 years, raised my family, etc. And I have a full-time position with Rural Professional Services Company, and I've been involved with REMA since 1997. Excuse me. So the REMA program, if I can just explain real quick, that it was enacted into law in 1990 to perpetuate the original corners that were set in the state basically between 1815 and 1860. Lapeer County was completed 1820 to 1830. Right? So that is what the REMA program was created for. In our county, There's 3,133 corners. And out of the past 30 years we've been doing this, excuse me, that's enough. Apparently I'm nervous. I don't know what's going on. 56% has been completed for our county over the past 30 years. So we've got like 1,359 corners remaining to complete. For the monument surveyors that do the actual work, we utilize local surveyors best as possible. And we've had the benefit of using Davis, Duttler, Kennedy, and Rowe. Kennedy is out of Oxford, but he lives in Lapeer County. We have another surveyor, Muxlow, who is in the county, but she is not interested. She's declined being involved. Talk a little bit about how the funding is. So the funding is based upon the funds collected by the Register of Deeds when you record something. And then the monies, it was $2, went up to $4, now it's $4. Of that, $30 per recording fee is then brought to the REMON program and then redistributed to all the 83 counties for their programs. So they collect from the Register of Deeds and then they redistribute it. So in the past 6 years, Lapeer County has collected, has received more for the REMON funding than was collected through the Register of Deeds. So that's pretty good. This is an example of what was found when we go through the remonumentation program, and I'll invite Gil Bono up here. He was the monumentation surveyor that recovered this.
As Henry mentioned, this is a corner that was found in the remonumentation program this year. The original corner that you see in front of you, the wood post, that was set in 1824 by Joseph Wofford, who was the deputy surveyor for the United States government. So that corner is approximately almost 200 years old. The next object, the stone, was set in 1855, roughly, by county surveyor Gilbert Bates at that time. Then he came back in 1870, approximately, and set another stone on top of this post and stone. Somewhere in between when he was there and today, the object that you see now that was in place was this pipe. And that's what we found in the remonumentation. But per the requirements for the remonumentation program, if the corner is off-road, then we have to set a concrete monument at that point. Well, in the process of finding or setting that concrete monument, digging down, because that concrete monument's like 36 inches long, we dug down and we found these three objects. So the corners are out there. Again, they were set in 1824 by the GLO surveyor. So those corners control every piece of property within the state, within the county of Lapeer, as well as the state of Michigan. That was in the original survey, even before Michigan became a state in 1837. So these corners are critical for the general public and for any property transactions or improvements that take place within the county.
Thank you, Gil.
Thank you. Thank you.
So basically, that's what we potentially could find. That's what we're trying to do, perpetuate the original locations of the corners. And then when, as surveyors, we really think it's cool. When we find all the history, we know we have a corner, we're perpetuating it. Now it gets recorded. There's, witnesses added to it. So the surveyors can then come behind and get to the actual corner originally. So basically I'm asking for approval of the monument surveyors contracts. They're the ones who are going to be doing the work in the field, reestablishing the corners, and the peer review contracts. And those are the individuals, licensed surveyors, who are reviewing that work, approving, disapproving, based upon the law. Any questions?
Has any of that changed, those contracts?
No, we haven't raised any. We did a raise a couple years ago just to bring us in line with the surrounding counties.
Thank you, very interesting.
Yeah, I thought you might.
I'll make that motion.
I'll support that.
Motion and support.
It's get renewed every year.
So what happens is, yes, every year we have to, we get a new grant, we have to facilitate the old grant this year's, we have to provide all the information back to the state. Then when the funds get reestablished, then we'll get, the opportunity to come back next year.
Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'll try not to leave this as a mess.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the Health Department's request to approve the VAAA Round 1 contract amendment for various senior services. Morning, Kathy.
Good morning. What I mainly wanted to explain to you is that this is a every year thing. We get the original contract and then 2 or 3, sometimes 4 times during the year. They review their funding and they send through an amendment. And so you're looking at the round 1. Expect that there'll probably be at least around 2, probably around 3, possibly around 4 along the course of the year. And this explains what they're adding. Do you have any other questions or?
Any questions, commissioners? Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Support, Isley.
Motion and support. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. Okay, that brings us to CMH, request to approve second appropriation transfer, the amount of $89,661.33.
I'll move that.
I'll support it.
Motion and support. Any discussion on that? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Okay, next item is Administration Finance Department. Request to authorize payment to Shipman Fournier for labor services to March 31st, 2023.
Make the motion to approve that.
I'll support.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Brings us to 11B, request to adopt a resolution to accept the Sparks Dryden Casey project grant.
Mr. Chairman, we have a member of the Friends of the Pollyant Trail in the audience.
Okay, great.
Speak.
Thank you. My name is David Howell. I'm chairman of Friends of the Pollyant Trail. And I'm here representing Friends. And so if I say we, I'm referring to the Friends of the Pollyant Trail. In December, the commission approved the application for a grant to do some work, some development work on the Pollyant Trail. The grant was applied for at $287,000. And there was a $5,000 grant support from Dryden Township and $10,000 support from the Friends of the Pollyant Trail. So we were very fortunate to get the grant where there were only 21 grantees that out of about 460 applications. So basically we have outlined a proposal, a project that starts at Dryden Road and at Dryden Memorial Park and goes to Casey Road. It's 1.3 miles. And it'll be, the trail will be finished in a professional way with crushed limestone. Right now it's rough in terms of just it's existing ballast that was there when the railroad was there. Over the years, there has been maintenance on that. Mainly, the county hasn't paid for maintenance on the trail, but the county does receive about $10,000 a year for maintenance, which is mainly mowing, fixing culverts, things like that. And usually if there, many years, the $10,000 doesn't go to cover everything. So usually the Friends of the Pollyant Trail pick up the difference. So right now we are asking for the commission to approve or accept the grant. You approved applying for it in December, and we just need you to accept it. And then I've been working with Sarah with some of the information that she needed. The way the grant was set up is that it was a DNR grant that was like an organization like our Grow 501c3, but organizations like that were not eligible to apply for this grant. So what we did as Friends was we hired a grant writer. The grant writer did a really good job putting it together. Some of that work was based on work that Joe Stock had done in the past. And so the Friends paid for the grant writer. And then when the money comes in, it's a reimbursed grant, so which is the way the DNR work has been. So that will be, the work will be done, and the county is the manager of the trail. And when the trail was acquired back in 1999, the DNR owns the trail, the 20 miles from Oakland County border to Curtis Road, and the county is the manager. But the county doesn't spend money on the trail. The county uses volunteer work and money from the DNR, and then supplemented money from Friends of the Pollyant Trail. So, I mean, that's it. I don't know if you have questions, but that's the story. It's going to be a really nice connection for two parks, Dryden Memorial Park and General Squire Park. So, in the Squire Park that's a county park, obviously, and the Friends did donate $10,000 of the $70,000 that it took to buy that 7-acre piece of property that connects the trail and Dryden Township Park. So, just wanted you to know what this is all about. Hopefully, we'll get that, start getting some bids out and getting some work done there. But I think it's a great project, and it's a good place to start further improving the right of way.
All right, thank you. Any questions?
I would just like to add to that a little bit. I had the pleasure of the last 2 years being the liaison from the county. Great work, very hardworking. If it was not for them, the trail would be unusable. And I just want to give the recognition to these folks. I know for a while there was, I think, some hard feelings between some of the past commissioners and the trail or something. I'm not exactly sure what was going on there, but when I got involved, there were 2 bridges that were in horrible shape, very unsafe. We got those rectified. It didn't cost the county any money. So these folks, like I say, they do a great job, and I would recommend that we approve this.
Okay. Any support?
That's the motion, I'll support.
Any further discussion?
I'm clarifying, you're adopting the resolution, accepting the grant, and authorizing the chair or vice chair to sign the agreement, all in this motion.
Correct. Do you need a roll call for that, or?
Because it's a resolution.
Yeah, I would say.
It will definitely happen at your next meeting. Today it's optional. If you want to do it today, that's great.
I think we're good. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
just so, to make it clear, because we were not eligible ourselves to apply for the grant, technically Lapeer County applied for the grant and is receiving the grant. So we'll be working closely with county officials to work and get that forward, but the county is actually the grant recipient.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very
Great,
much.
thank you so much, appreciate it. Okay, next item is request to approve the Indigent Defense Independent Contractor Agreement for the managed assigned council administrator services for the remainder of the grant period due to a recent resignation of the current attorney.
I'll move it.
Support. Any discussion?
Have it on and
Zender or Hamilton.
Bill,
Sorry, Linda, I'll try to slow down. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Okay, brings us to 11D, discussion of the household hazardous waste fall event. Somebody here that wants to discuss that?
So this has been going on for quite a few years. Dial actually was the one who spearheaded this mainly. I had the pleasure of working that event last year. I was remarkably surprised at the participation, and I've never seen so many little AA and AAA and 9-volt batteries in my life. Not kidding, there was almost 2 55-gallon barrels full of those little batteries. Not to mention all the other products that were brought in, but I think it's something that's very worthwhile in the community. It's been hosted, I think, a couple different places. I think they did one in Lapeer, and then they did one in Emily City. The last one was in Emily City at the fairgrounds. As president of the Fair Board, I would extend the welcome of that facility again for that use, if that's what the board so chooses. But just want to get kind of the ball rolling on this, if that's what the intent of this board is, to continue that project. So I'm just really, I asked for it to be put on the agenda just for discussion. If we want to move forward, we can get to you some exact numbers. The townships did participate in the cost of this. MSU Extension was involved in it. If there's an interest in moving forward, I think we'll continue with that, and we can bring you back some numbers.
Do you remember what the cost was? Off the top of your head or no?
I don't think it was very extreme, but like I say, the townships were involved in it. To tell you numbers, I really don't know.
Were all the townships involved in the county, or was it just?
All but one. There's a small township that did not participate.
So would it be beneficial to have it in another area of the county instead of again at the same location, or?
And again, the way they used to do it years back is they had, I believe, one in the spring in Lapeer and one in the fall in Emily City. But, like I say, I'm not opposed to any of it. I know this board doesn't know anything about it, so that's why we're just bringing it up for discussion. Like I said, we can work out all the details, the where and the when, and that sort of stuff, if this board's interested. If they're not interested, then there's no point in doing the work. I don't believe Do you remember the cost?
I did bring that down from
Okay.
finance. It was $13,529. The county contributed 10,000 and the rest was money donated by the townships and villages that participated.
Okay, so approximately $4,000 from the other townships, and 10,000.
It was like 7 cents a resident, I think is what we estimated it.
And approximately how much waste did we end up? Remember?
I believe the semi-trailer was pretty full.
Almost a whole semi-trailer load.
Yeah.
Wow.
Does the cost come into disposing of hazardous waste? Is that?
Yeah, that's what
Okay.
the cost comes
Okay.
into. It's a company that comes out, they supply a couple of workers, they haul away the product. There's some volunteers, and let's say there's some folks from LSU. There was some of the Fair Board people. I was there as a commissioner, and a couple other volunteers to help do the work and get the stuff out of the cars and things like that. So.
There were certain things that they were not allowed, weren't.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't, there was no tires, there was no, it was like paint, thinners, lawn chemicals, batteries, that type stuff. I don't know the exact list, but.
Any other comments? Do we need a motion to put that on the agenda? It's just, I'd say we're all interested. I can't speak for everybody else, but I am.
So I will make the motion that we put it on the agenda.
Which agenda?
For the next meeting, 2 weeks.
Full board in 2 weeks?
4/27.
Okay, got motion and support. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Thanks, Commissioner Agender. Okay, that brings us to additional items. Annual equalization report presentation and request to approve the report and authorize signatures. Good morning.
Hello, good morning. My name is Lisa Griffin. I met you all before, I think once. I'm the equalization director. I'm here with Raylene Burkle. She is the chief property appraiser. We've completed the annual review of assessment rolls for all the local units in Lapeer County. The 2023 recommendation to the Board of Commissioners is submitted for your review and adoption. The reports in your packet include the L4024 and the 4037 reports, which break down the assessed and equalized values for real and personal property by class for each unit in the county and the county total. So the county equalized value for 2023 is $5,407,661,781. This is a 12% countywide increase in equalized value from 2022. The taxable value for 2023 increased approximately 7.8% from 2022. So today we're requesting that the Board of Commissioners approve and sign the 4024 and 4037 reports. So there will be two different formats for the 4037, or I'm sorry, 4024 that the chairperson had to sign. The state is requesting a different form, so we did the old form and now we have the new form, so there'll be two, we'll just have to sign both.
We have a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve this presentation of the equalization report.
I get on support.
Any discussion?
I have a question. These are not gonna be signed until after your full board, correct?
Sure. Whatever you.
They can sign them.
You're our advisory team.
They don't have authority to sign at a committee of the whole, so I was just clarifying.
Okay.
Okay, so motion for Commissioner Howell?
Yes, obviously, we're talking about a really big issue here. And this is affecting the tax bills for every single property owner in the county. I'm just curious, I used to be an assessor for a while.
Okay.
Wisely decided not to continue that profession. God bless you folks who are still involved. It's a thankless task. I'm just curious, as I look at these numbers, and I represent the north part of the county, so I'm more ag oriented in terms of looking at the numbers. In each township, you've adjusted the values, of course. Are you able to find comparable sales within those townships to justify those changes, or do you operate on individual appraisals, or what's been your experience this year?
So for agricultural, for example, and commercial and industrial, generally there's usually not enough sales, so we do an appraisal study. Residential there are, so we do sales studies for residential classes. But with that said, for the studies, we will go out and review all the sales that we do have for agricultural, commercial, and industrial. So countywide, there's still not enough. And that's general for most counties in the state of Michigan. They do the appraisal studies.
And I assume it's a chicken and egg thing. I mean, like in my township, I live in Deerfield, we've had a number of ag land sales. Maybe not enough to get to your number, but do you cross-reference those in some way when you're doing your appraisal study?
We do. So what we'll do is we'll send out the study to the local assessor, and then it's really on them to look at, what they've been selling for versus what we have them appraised at. And then they can come back to us and question it, or, ask for additional information, or, a different ratio based on the sales that they're seeing for that class. So, and with that said, with the increase for taxable value being 7.8%, the CPI this year was 5%. So taxable value is capped at 5%, and that is the highest that it's been since its inception in 1994.
Yes, thank God for the cap.
Yes.
In ag sales and residential, I'm sure to some degree, you've got a number of relationships, so some sales don't really represent perhaps an arm's length transaction.
Right.
It's between friends, relatives, whatever.
Right.
How do you suss that out and decide what's really legitimate?
So, Raylene handles the residential sales study, but we look at all the deeds, so and generally we can tell from the deed or from the property transfer affidavit if it's, an arm's length transaction or not. And then we do send those studies as well to the local assessor, and then they are reviewing the sales study as well to see if they have some information that we don't have. So, but sometimes a deed is a deed. We can't always see everything on it unless we have more information. So we do rely on the assessors to give us additional information and the deeds themselves.
Sure. And obviously, they're in the best position to really have some knowledge about relationships and what may be legitimate transactions. Correct. Are you finding a pretty good response rate among the assessors in terms of questioning or offering more information or whatever?
Yeah, Raylene probably can.
Not really. We pretty much
Not too much
send the
response.
studies, and we might have like one assessor respond to us. I think they kind of just look at the overall ratio and see if they like that number. Also, family sales we don't use, we throw them out, so.
Thank you.
Excellent, yeah. So the increase in taxable property value across the county is 7.8% from
Yes.
2022 from 2021?
2022 to 2023.
Okay,
Yes.
just got an idea. So our property values went up almost 8%. That's good.
Well, actually, there's two numbers. There's assessed value and taxable. So assessed value is based on the market. That went up about 12%, and taxable value is based on what you actually pay your taxes on. So it did go up 7.8%. So that includes, uncappings and new construction, things like that can go above and beyond the 5% cap. So it's
Great.
confusing.
It's good to know. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
Yeah, one of us made the motion, or the other one supported. So there's a motion on the floor.
Okay, motion. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carried. Thank you again. We have an additional item on the agenda, which would be the opioid settlement. Anybody want to read that or just?
I'll read it. I'll motion. So I get on motion to authorize the Indian County Controller Administrator to execute the time-sensitive settlement documents electronically in the National Prescription Opiate Litigation in order to participate in the relevant Tevia, Allergen, CVS, Walmart, and Walgreens opioid settlement, and further to authorize the Finance Department to deposit the settlement revenue into Fund 284 to be used for opioid prevention services.
Support.
Motion and support. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. Okay, that brings us to our second public time. Is there anybody in the public who'd like to comment during the second public time this morning?
I'd just like to thank Commissioner Zender. Had I not been here, I wouldn't have heard the proposal about the hazardous waste. My husband and I have taken advantage of it several times in the past. These are chemicals you really don't want people putting in their backyards, throwing out on their lawns, affecting groundwater. We've had things like mercury that come from our thermostats. You have no way to get rid of that. And that's seriously hazardous to individuals. You don't want that even breaking in your house. So a lot of the chemicals that go into this hazardous waste are not things that I can just call somebody up and pay a few dollars to get rid of it. So I really hope the commissioners take this seriously. This is a real big gift to people within the county to give them the opportunity to take advantage of it. And I think the number of people who brought things, we had to make an appointment. It was all very orderly. It was a wonderful program. People, really took good care of us. It was very easy for a consumer to go, or a county resident to go through. So I really encourage you to think about repeating it again this year. I think it's been a great program for the county. So thank you very much, Commissioner Zender, and thank you, commissioners.
Thank you.
Well, my name's Anita Herron.
Thank you, Anita. Anyone else in the public like to comment during the second public time?
Mark Munson, Oregon Township. Read a resolution you just passed. You said opioid prevention services. That's a good thing. How about treatment for those that are already having problems? Does it include that, or what? If you could expound on that a little bit, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to comment?
You guys are probably gonna be tired of listening to me, but I must have done something wrong today. I just wanted to come to a public meeting this morning. Had to empty my pockets again. What's next? Vaccine passport? Do I have to wear a mask to come in? I don't know what's next. Maybe we could swab our noses. How about a drug test? It's just little liberties that we lose along the way. I know it's all for the common good. We lost a lot the last 3 years. Instead of just checking at the door, why don't we just do it for 3 city blocks? Maybe the whole city, instead of just this building. How about the whole county? Put checkpoints on the roads. Why don't we look under everyone's bed? Come on, Mark, you're talking crazy stuff. That would never happen. I don't go to some stores anymore because they acted a little like tyrants the last 3 years. I don't like my money. They don't like my money, or they don't like my type. I don't know. I know your hands are tied. I know Oakland County's doing it, and all the others are doing it, so it must be good. What I've missed so far in line is seeing my favorite judge and my favorite county commissioner. It's just us, the people that pay for this. Choose freedom, choose wisely. They say it's the world we live in today. No, it's the world they want us to live in today. It's not the world we live in. Thanks for listening, comrades.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to comment during the second public time? Okay, we're gonna close the second public time. Brings us to commissioner reports. Commissioner Howell, you want to start on there?
Just two things I wanted to mention. I got an email, I think probably the other ones got an email too, from Jackie Arnold regarding solid waste planning and Genesee County wanting to join with us. I've been involved in solid waste planning for a lot of decades. I'm just urging us, be cautious before you marry yourselves to Genesee County. When we've had these discussions in the past, one of the flashpoints is location of landfills. If you want to find an incredibly unpopular political issue, try to put a landfill near somebody's house. So before I agreed to go with Genesee County, I'd want to make sure that they're not looking at us as a lot of vacant property where landfill could go. So anyway, I'm not saying I'm against it right now. I just see that request has been made. Before we jump into, I would want to really delve into this deeply and make sure what we're committing to if we partner with Genesee for land solid waste planning. The other thing is more brief. I had initially asked that a pension presentation be made as to county commissioner's pension. He was going to come this month. Because of family circumstances, we've got to leave town until this meeting is over. So I asked him to put it off to future meetings. So the gentleman from MERS will be here at one of our future meetings to explain pension issues to us. That's it. Great. Thank you much.
Just real quick, as far as the opioid treatments, Mark, you have my word that I will look into see if we can use that money for that. I do agree. I don't know if anybody's on Facebook, but we have a Facebook page called #Lapeer of an individual who was hooked on opioids, very open and honest about it. Went through our drug court because he was arrested here and it changed his life. So I do agree with you that that is an important issue. Thank you, Mark.
Just a couple things for me. Thanks for including the commission time after the COW meetings here. Before, we never had commission time to respond to comments that are made by the public. They were only after full board meetings. So we do have the opportunity to address some of the issues that get brought up as Mark's issue, and Brad had an opportunity to respond to you before you left. As far as the YouTube video, I want to make it clear that I did not know that there was any editing involved in this video until after it was done. I can't speak for the other board members. There are options in lieu of YouTube, and if YouTube wants to censure us, which they can and often do, not us, but they could. You know, I think you get 2 or 3 strikes and then they kick you off. We can transition over to Rumble. You know, these are things, discussions we have to have in the future, is to come up with a policy and how to deal with this in the future. I believe that everything ought to be heard that comes up in these meetings. There are sensitive issues, and I think it was dealt with incorrectly, and I think we all learned a valuable lesson as a result of that. I personally don't know that I would have taken that out, but I do understand there are kids in government classes in school that will watch these live, and maybe even recordings of them. So we got to be sensitive to that issue also. As far as the Oregon Township meeting, I did not bowl out of there because I was afraid to answer questions. I had a meeting at Oregon Township with Brad at 6 o'clock. It's a 30-minute drive for me to get to Hadley, where they're started at 7. Every Oregon Township board meeting that I've attended, I had to leave early. Thank God they were allowing us to make our commission comments first, and I did. So I just want to make that clear that you're entitled to your own opinions, but you're not entitled to your own facts. I did not pull out of that. I'm not afraid to take questions from anybody. Just to make that clear. As far as the library book issue, just want to keep on bringing this up because it's pretty clear that there is no adult section in the Lapeer District Library, and we don't go into Myers and buy Hustler magazines that are sitting right next to the checkout counter because there's kids and children. I do believe that there's illegal. So if there's going to be an adult section, I'm not for banning books. Put it in an adult section. Make an adult section. According to an email that was received by one of my constituents from Yvonne Brown, who's the assistant director up there, there was a direct question made to her: do children have access to all materials in the library? And her response was, anybody who enters one of our buildings has access to all public areas regardless of age. So if we're gonna, we gotta stop calling there's an adult section there, because there's not. So maybe there should be. If we're gonna have these kinds of materials in there, we gotta protect our children. Young children should not have access to this stuff without their parents' knowledge or consent. So that's all I have to say.
I'd like to publicly thank administration and the Parks Department for the condolence card and the gift that they got. It was very much appreciated. For those of you, my mother died the 28th of March, so it was unexpected, so it's been a difficult time for me and my family. And I appreciate everybody thinking. I appreciate everybody who came out, the commission sent flowers, and other people in the building who sent cards. I probably forgot half of you because it's been a blur, but forgive me for not thanking you personally, but this is my public thank you, so I appreciate it. That's all I have.
I don't have much today. I just want to touch a little bit about the FOIA request for the video. The recorded YouTube video, the live stream in this room, is not part of the official minutes. It does not violate the Open Meetings Act to edit that. That is not official minutes. The official minutes get printed, and that's the public record. We are not required by law to broadcast these videos. That was done in the name of transparency by the old board, and I'm grateful for that. I'm thankful for that. I am all for broadcasting these meetings to the public. But in order to do that, we have to be decent. We have to be respectful, and not inappropriate. And none of us are perfect. I understand that. But it's not a part of the official minutes. So we are not in violation of any OSHA or Open Meetings Act in editing a video. Again, it wasn't, to my knowledge, any of the commissioners that did that, although I would be willing to take responsibility for it because I am an elected representative and I believe the buck does stop with us. And so if anybody wants to come after anybody, come after the elected people. I think people did things to the best of their knowledge and what they thought was appropriate. And I honor that. I think everybody makes choices. Sometimes we make good choices, sometimes we make bad choices. But as far as violating any law, no laws have been violated. That's all.
I would echo my fellow commissioner's statement on the YouTube thing. I don't think there was any malice involved in that. I don't think anybody was trying to delete somebody's opinion. I think it was some very choice words that were trying to be deleted. YouTube does have their rules. Is it the greatest platform to have this on? Maybe not. I don't know. The board's been trying to be very transparent. This wasn't, like I say, to hide anything. Our staff took it upon themselves to edit this. They did notify us. They did the best they could with the situation that they had, and I agree. The buck stops with us. If there's a problem, I guess it's on us. As far as the security in this building, this is a courthouse. Don't know what to tell you. If it's too much bother for you to take the change out of your pocket, I'm sorry. The safety of these employees means a lot more to me than you having to stop and take the change out of your pocket. So that's all I am.
The rest of you stole most of my talking points here. All I'm gonna say is I think we need an official board policy if we're gonna do these videos and broadcast them, that we don't edit anything. Given what's happened, it just brings up too many questions. If people find language in the video inappropriate, YouTube takes our channel down, well, fine, we have Rumble. If people don't like the language used in the video, then police yourselves, don't watch it. But I think there needs to be a policy that to keep this from happening again, that nothing gets edited, period, end of discussion.
Anybody, anything else to add?
If we could do properties in about 10 minutes and then personnel after that.
Right. Thank you, everyone, for coming out again. It was a longer meeting, and appreciate it.
Motion to adjourn.
Or those two.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, meeting adjourned.